Hello, Salemites. Welcome to Day's Daily Dose TV. This is your recap and update for Days of Our Lives for Monday, May 29th to Friday, June 2nd, which is today. Woo-hoo. We got the beginning of a new month. What's popping in Salem? Oh, just so much is going on. So much is going on. I knew things were going to get interesting with Meagan and Kristin, and indeed they have. Now, I do want to tell you right off the bat, today Nicole did get the paternity results. That's how it went off. So if people are trying to make you watch their videos just to find out who's the baby daddy, they didn't reveal that. That's the very last thing when it went off. EJ, Eric, and Nicole were at the hospital waiting for Kayla, and it did not show her giving them the results. That'll be for Monday. Okay, so remember what happened last week? The whole thing on the roof. Collin and Talia both are arrested and were in the hospital. Okay, so here we go. Collin. Monday, we see Leo runs into Johnny and Wendy because they have a date. And I'm just going to say, I'm so uninterested in Wendy since she's like a two-timer now. She's not really. She's not, because she's not committed to either one of these boys. So, she doesn't have to pick or choose. And I would advise anyone to, take your time, date around. But, I'm not into her character. I don't see her and Johnny getting together, for sure, but I don't know. Anyway, Leo runs across them, and he is probing Johnny about details about Kristin and Meagan. Because Johnny, as of yet, doesn't know that Kristin and Meagan were, released and given immunity. And they were. Kristin and Meagan and Dimitri all got immunity and are free. So they all headed back to Salem. Anyway, Leo probes Johnny for the information. Give me the deets. Give me the dirt from Madam Whistleblower. I need to start making a list of everything, all the words that people call Leo. He's been called all kinds of things in relation to his whistleblower. Some people call him Madam Whistleblower. Most of them call him other things. Anyway, Johnny doesn't even know. He doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. Kristin and Meagan, he knows nothing about them. EJ and Stefan are kissing butt and on double time. They are doing double time butt kissing to Kristin and Meagan because they are in a power struggle for Demera, and they want their votes to vote the other one out. And there's a lot of tension around the house. It's funny that Kristin and Meagan now hold all the keys, and here they've done such horrible things. They're criminals. But I like both their characters, actually. Kristin, she does my very favorite character of all time, which was Susan Banks. And I just love that about her. She also played that slimy little Thomas. Oh, he's a little weasel. And I just love those characters. And, of course, Meagan. Been a fan of hers since when she was a young girl on the show. Anyway. So, after they're all throwing their pitches and kissing that butt as much as they can, when Meagan and Kristin are left alone, Monday wraps up. They have a lot of discussion within the Demeras. You would really just have to watch the show to see all their conversations. But after the boys are gone, they're talking about their silly brothers and thinking that only the Demera men should run the company. So they decide it's time for the women to run the company. This should be so good. So what's going to happen here? They are both criminals. I don't know how the board would feel about them running the company. But this could definitely make EJ and Stefan team up against them. But I don't know. I'm really, disappointed in Stefan. He really ended up holding a real hard grudge on EJ for not telling him that, he knew what happened to him and stuff. But he didn't know that long, so, I don't know. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about Monday. Move on to Tuesday the 30th. Xander offers Chloe a job. At where? At the Spectator. And this week is filled with people getting new jobs. So Xander offers Chloe a job at the Spectator. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, at the Crick's mansion, Maggie's home, and Justin is pissed that she fired Alex, and he talks her into giving him another chance. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, in the square, Alex is talking to Gwen, and he's talking about how he needs a job, and that he's seen that she was advertising for was it a marketing director? I'm not sure the position which Chloe was already taking. So she said, "Sorry, mate," and she put up a big fight. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So Chloe's supposed to start working at the Spectator, and Gwen hates her guts. And so Brady overhears Alex talking about how he needs a job, and Brady walks up and says, "Did I hear somebody say they needed a job?" And he offers Alex a job at Basic Black, since Nicole really isn't there anymore and Chloe's gone. He's wheeling and dealing all by himself. So he's gonna go work for Brady Black. So we got all kinds of switch ups going on here. Anyway. So Xander tells Gwen that he's hiring Chloe. And she's, "Over my dead body." And he looks like, he'd be good with that. But he explained to her, we are partners, and she's got lots of experience, and I want to hire her. I'm hiring her. So he put his foot down, and she's like, "Fine, hire her then." So, that's not going to be a good situation with Chloe, I'm afraid. Brady, meanwhile, now this is before, I kind of jumped ahead just to give you the news, but meanwhile, Brady goes over to Chloe's before he ever sees Alex in the square, and offers Chloe to come back to Basic Black, and she's like, "I don't know, Brady," and he's like, "Look, I won't bother you, it'll be just work, I really need you, Nicole's out. With you gone, I'm wheeling and dealing." That's not the words he used. "I'm doing everything, So she says, she can't. She's already accepted a job from Xander over at the Spectator. Of course, he lets her know what is that? How much of a big deal that's going to be. What's that? Anyway. Basic Black. She says no. That she's going to the Spectator. Okay. Xander. Oh, I wrote down the wrong stuff. Okay. So Chad, he comes back from Greece, and he's going to go surprise the Steph. And she's up in her apartment having beers with Alex because he's crying the blues. Now, there's nothing going on between them. She's just being a good friend to him. But here they are. They're on their second beer apiece, having some fun, just chatting. And, Stephanie's just trying to be uplifting, encourage Alex. And then there's a knock at the door. And she opens it, and it's Chad. Oh, Alex goes and opens it. And Chad's like, "Honey, I'm home." And Stephanie runs and hugs him, and they kiss and all this. So, Alex and Chad, they still got this battle going on for Stephanie, even though she's with Chad. Okay, Bonnie goes to visit Rex to see Emily, her granddaughter, and she is out of town. Where is that? In Chicago that they live? To visit Mimi and Emily. So he's like, well, she's asleep in there, and Bonnie's like, let me just take a little peek at her, and then so she goes in to look at her, and there's another knock on the door, and it's Sarah. In walks a very pregnant Sarah, and she's telling him something about a patient because they work together. And he kept trying to stop her to tell her that Bonnie was here. And then you hear, Bonnie's voice saying, Sarah Horton, is that you? And she's like, oh my God, because nobody in Salem knows Sarah is pregnant. So she turns around and puts her back to her. And she walks out, and Sarah's just kind of talking to her without turning around. And she said, Sarah Horton, turn around here. So she took her bag and put over her stomach and turned around and was talking to her. And Bonnie walked up to her and pulled the bag off and said, honey, that bag cannot hide the fact that you are pregnant. So they try to tell Bonnie that it's her and Rex's baby. And then Rex is like, you're acting like you don't believe us. And she's like, I don't, not a word. This is Xander's baby, and you didn't want Xander to know because you all got a divorce and you were angry at him. So she finally comes clean and admits, yes, it is Xander's baby. And with everything Xander did, she didn't think he would be a good influence around a baby. But, like Bonnie told him, she kept trying to tell her, he's changed, and she's like, honey, if I can forgive him for kidnapping me, I mean, surely you can forgive him. And she said no, she really didn't want anything to do with him. And Bonnie kept saying, well, I think Xander has a right to know that he's going to be a father. So, Sarah did not like that. Oh, she said that bag can't hide the fact that you're knocked up. She wasn't even as nice as that. So, they lied to her. Didn't work because she knows better. And that's kind of the, there was a lot of conversations. That's kind of the wrap up of Tuesday the 30th. Then Wednesday, Abe wakes up. Now I don't know what's going on here. Abe wakes up. What? Get it. I don't know why I put that in there. Okay, Abe wakes up and doesn't recognize Chanel. And, he's having a little memory problem. She's like, let me go get the doctor or the nurse or somebody. So she goes out. Well, she gets ready to go out, but this nurse comes in. And this nurse is almost identical to Paulina. So Abe, he thinks that this nurse is Paulina. Yeah, Chanel leaves the room. And he's like, Paulina. And she just smiled. He said, I know who you are. You're my wife, because Chanel had showed him a picture of his wife, Paulina, and them together. So she looked a lot like him. And she said, oh, you think I'm your wife? And he's like, where am I? What happened to me? She said, a very bad man hurt you. And Abraham, you're not safe here. Keep that in mind. Okay, so as we've seen, Nicole and Sloan ran into each other in the hospital. She had the DNA test in a box, and Sloan walked over to her. I saw Kayla hand you that box, and I see how you're hanging on to it. What's going on? And she said, it's for the paternity test. I have to get a DNA sample, a swab. And she's like, I see. And she said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm afraid, She said, can't you get it when EJ's asleep? She said, I'm afraid he'll wake up. And then what do I say? Because she doesn't want to tell anybody she doesn't know who the father is or that she's pregnant until she knows exactly who the father is. I don't blame her. So she tells her, let me do it. Eric sleeps like a rock. I can get a swab from Eric. So Nicole agrees to let her do it, but she's handing her the stuff, and Eric walks in. What's going on here? And they end up telling Eric that it's there's a virus breakout on the floor, and everybody has to swab to see if make sure they're negative before they, see the patients. He seemed to fall for that a little bit. They tried to go on and swab him then to see if he would fall for it, but he said no. He said, you do it, Sloan. You need to go see your brother. So, we got out of all that mess. Okay, so she gets the swab. And, she's got it in her purse. She's going to take it to meet Nicole. Well, Eric catches Sloan in a lie, and she ends up coming clean and tells him that Nicole is pregnant and he might be the father. So he said, give me the swab. And she's like, what are you going to do with it? He said, I'm going to take care of it. So Sloan was supposed to go meet Nicole in the park, but Eric said he was going to take care of it. He left and went to the mansion to confront Nicole, and he was going to give her the swab. So, Sloan hands it to him, and she doesn't know, what's going to happen. She did tell him, Eric, I hope if this is your baby, it doesn't affect our relationship, It's going to affect your relationship, girlfriend. Collin blames Talia for everything. Rafe is in the room talking to him, or maybe it wasn't Rafe, maybe it was his sister, and he was blaming Talia for everything. She messed up everything. Oh yeah, he was trying to tell Rafe Talia did all this. She broke in the office. She poisoned the biscuits. She's the one that needs to be in jail. And he's like, well, she's arrested, but she's doing what you wanted her to do. And he's like, no, mate, or whatever. He's turning on her. He's throwing her into the bus. And what does that tell us? He never gave a shit about what's her name, Talia. He was abusing her emotionally, mentally, and I said it all along. And she was, oh my God, I don't even want to say what I'm thinking, but it is what normal people think when women act like that and they don't know. They just think, never mind. Anyway. Collin blames Talia for everything. So, that's ticking Rafe off. I think he kicked the bed or something. So, anyway, Rafe goes out, and he's talking, I think he's talking to Sloan. I don't know who he's talking to. Oh, and he sends a very young police officer in to get him, go in and get Collin, let's get him in the car, let's get him, because the doctor told me you can be released. So, Rafe goes back into the room to see what the holdup is, and here's the officer stripped down to his underwear, and he's handcuffed to the bed. Somehow Collin, he's a little bit, I want to call him hefty, not chunky, thick. And this little cop was a skinny little string bean. So I guess he was able to overpower him, and even though Collin hadn't murdered anybody, he's a murderer. He's a murderer in his heart. Oh, Rafe is so angry. At the same time, so Collin escapes. He puts on the cop outfit, and he's gone. Okay, so blamed Talia for everything. He escapes. Now this nurse that looks like Paulina, once she sees that Abe thinks he's his she's his wife. She tells him, Abraham, you're not safe in here. She puts him in a wheelchair and takes him out of the hospital. He told her, I'm taking you home. We're going where it's safe. So this nurse that none of us have ever seen before, we don't know who she is. She seems to genuinely care for Abe, and she's stealing him out of the hospital. She tells him he's not safe. Okay, so Paulina and Chanel go to Abe's room, and Abe's gone. And Chanel's like, well, I'm going to go check, Mom. Don't worry. They probably just took him out for a test or something. She comes back in. She said, he's not scheduled for any test. Nobody took him out of anywhere. So what? Abe's missing. Abe's missing, and Collin escapes. And she comes out, and she is, Rafe's sitting there blaming Sloan for all this. This is your fault because of your brother. You should have let this stuff go. You can't tell her that. You didn't have your mother and father both die like that. Anyway, here comes Paulina, and she's like, Rafe, and he's like, Paulina, I cannot deal with anything else right now. I can't listen to you right now. We've got a real problem. She's like, oh, you got a problem. So she ends up telling him Abraham is missing. No one knows where he is. And he said, okay, Paulina, I want you to calm down. I'm going to tell you something. And he ends up telling her Collin's missing too. Everybody's freaking out. Naturally, they're thinking Collin escaped. He's got Abe, and he's going to take him somewhere and kill him. I was thinking then, y'all got this all wrong, because even if I didn't already see the nurse take Abe out, I can't see him taking a hostage in a wheelchair when you're trying to get away from everybody, So, anyway. When it goes off Wednesday, Nicole was getting ready to leave the DeMere mansion. Now, she was gonna try to swab EJ's cheek because Anna gave her a sleeping pill. She said, he'll be out and you can swab him. But he had to go away on emergency business. And that's how Sloan ended up getting Eric's. So she's getting ready to go, opens the door to go meet Sloan, and there stands Eric, and she's like, Eric. And he pulls out that swab, and she's just like, oh. So, she talks to Eric, and she tells him, why she knew how important it was that, now that's how it goes off on Wednesday. So Thursday, she's busy, she's talking to Eric and telling him she knows how much he wants a child, and she doesn't want to uproar EJ for any reason. She was just waiting for the paternity test, so she would know for sure when she told one of them or both of them. So, he was a little bit understanding with that, and that was fine. So, he ended up giving her the swab, but they spent a good portion of Thursday with them talking like that. So, Abe is still missing. Collin escaped. Eric confronts Nicole. What about? Oh, okay. Yeah, we already got that. Now, Leo, being the little lady whistleblower that he is, he sees the back of Collin and thinks he's a real cop, and he's like, officer, I need some help. And he turned and looked at him and said, I can't help you right now. I'm in a hurry. He's like, no, I need a police officer. And he turned around and asked him what the problem was, and he said, somebody stole what did they steal? His phone? No, not his phone, his wallet or something. Somebody stole something, and he's like, I really can't do this now. And he's like, don't I know you? And he said, yeah, you were a stripper at such and such. And he's like, no, I was not. And then the more he talked and he picked up on that British accent, he said, oh, I know who you are, and you're a bad boy. Collin was looking pretty threatening to him, and he's like, oh, I'm going to call the police. And I thought, that's a stupid thing to say. He said something about alerting someone. I'm not sure what exact words were, because I didn't write anything down for Thursday, not a note one. So, then he's grabbing Leo by his shirt, and then Leo says, well, I work for the Spectator. How would you like to tell your side of the story? And Leo gives him all this big deal about why, you could tell your side. And then he said, all right, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea. And then Leo asks him something about murdering people and stuff, or some real offensive question. And it would have ticked me off too had I been Collin, but it pissed him off so much that he took his little phone and stomped it. And then he ended up taking off. And after he left, Sloan was walking through, and she said, and he was telling him, your brother's a psycho or something, and you tell your brother he owes me a phone, because he told him he just went that way, and he was in a cop uniform. So Sloan takes out after him. I don't think he ever finds him. Okay. So she ever finds him. Well, or she didn't this week. Let's see. Happens on Friday. Okay. So this nurse takes Abe to her apartment, and she has, oh my goodness, she's a cat person, but she doesn't have real cats. She's got like ceramic cats, stuffed cats, all kinds of cats everywhere. And he's like, what's with all the cats? And she's like, oh, Abraham, you don't remember, and you love my cats. And he's like, it doesn't seem like I do. And she has these 3 cats, I think they're ceramic, sitting on the couch. And she introduces them to Abe, and he's just looking at her. And then she took this one little mangy-looking stuffed animal cat and said, do you remember this one? And I forget what the name was. You named him, Abraham. And he started sneezing, and he said, I think that one needs a bath. They're filled with dust. And he said, this is where we live? And it's nothing is triggering anything in his mind, and it's because that's not where he lives. This is not his wife, and everything this woman is telling him is not true. So they have some crazy conversations, and she brings up things that he doesn't remember. And then he tells her something about, I guess we should call Chanel and tell her I'm not at the hospital. And she said, well, why would I do that? And he said, well, I just left without saying anything to her, and she's your daughter. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, Chanel will be okay. I don't know if this is just some psycho nurse just trying to protect him or what. I don't think she by any means is trying to hurt him. It's a little freaky deal. That's what it is. And we move on to today, Friday. So EJ comes back from his trip, and Nicole ends up coming clean with him. He yells at her, and he's like, why wouldn't you tell me that you were expecting my baby? And then he's like, oh, it's not my baby, is it, Nicole? It's Eric's. And she's told him she wasn't sure whose baby it was. And that she had been going crazy, wanting to tell them both, but she didn't want to cause a big uproar when she doesn't know who the father is. She said she dropped the swab off. They should know any time, but, and after she found out, she was going to tell them both. And he's like, so why are you telling me now? And she said, because Eric found out. And obviously, she didn't want Eric to be able to say, well, she told me, but not you. So that was a smart move. He's pretty angry at her, and then he comes around, and because she doesn't have good luck carrying babies full term. So I'm waiting for it to be one of these deals where they're going to come back and say she's pregnant with twins, and Eric's the daddy of one of them, and EJ's the daddy of one of them, because that already happened. Who'd that happen with? Allie and Johnny. So, okay. Anyway, Kayla gets the results back, and she calls Nicole, and she wants Nicole to meet her at her office. She said, I got 30 minutes now. So Nicole takes EJ, she calls Eric, and they all 3 meet at the hospital for the results. That is how it ended today on Friday, is they were all waiting to hear who the daddy was. The only other thing that happened, well, there was some stuff that happened prior to the ending there. Was Stefan and Gabby. They printed up like these little presentations at taking down EJ DiMera, and it had a picture of Gabby and Stefan and Meagan and Kristin on the outside, a bunch of papers, and this is our proposals for you all to vote for, get them to vote for us. So they're feeling pretty confident, and Meagan and Kristin are both just kind of looking at him, and he's like, it's the demise of EJ, and Megan's like, well, that sounds a little crude or something, and they give her all these papers, and they say they'll look over them. And they're like, okay, we'll take it under advisement. And then they go upstairs to, enjoy each other's company. And, So what it was is, because they were like, what? Because they said, well, we're going to offer you a lot of stuff. Like, what? So they were going to offer him some kind of good jobs at Gabby Chic or whatever the name of that new company is she's doing. And Megan looked at it and said, so she thinks they can offer us just a couple measly little jobs at Gabby Chic or whatever. That's not enough. So she takes the pamphlets. Well, they're like little books. They're presentations. And there's several pages in them. And she goes and pitches it in the fireplace and tells Kristin, got a match. And so Kristin made it clear that she didn't want to be kept out of whatever Megan's plans was. And Megan wants to take DiMera into other countries, cities, all kinds of stuff. She wants to go, I guess, global. Kristin accused her, so you want to take over the world. And Megan said, well, you're not going to be as involved with it as I am because you have a young child that you're going to get custody of or try to. And you're not going to want to spend all your time working. So they come to an understanding. Kristin, she is so smart too that she's just not sure that Megan's not going to try to screw her over somehow. So I don't know what's going to happen with them, but I like it. I like it a lot. What I thought was super duper funny was Kristin said, well, it's time the boys have all had their turn at running DiMera. It's the girls' time, and we need to get rid of that little two-timing something she called Gabby. And that's really a good thought. And don't get me wrong, Gabby is one of my favorite characters. And I like Stefan too. But I think Gabby did an excellent job running DiMera when she ran it. Coming from where she came from and wheeling and dealing like she was, I think she did a great job. But the DiMera women, they don't want Gabby running nothing. But then when it flashes back to Stefan and Gabby up in their room, and he's rubbing some kind of oil on her feet and her legs because the high heels were hurting her feet. And he said, you're going to be the best CEO that DiMera ever had. So he's planning on setting her in the CEO seat. And if he thinks for 1 minute that the DiMera sisters and all the DiMera brothers and Johnny, and that they are going to let Gabby run a DiMera company, even though she will be a DiMera by then. Hopefully, she is getting married. She was already a DiMera once. So this is going to be interesting, and that's a wrap for what happened this week. It really was good. A lot of stuff I just didn't write down because, I'm already taking up, 33 minutes now. I'd like to keep my weeklies under 30 minutes and just be able to hit the highlights. And I may miss something or whatever, but it was pretty good this week, and I'm excited to see what happens. I hope Nicole is able to carry her baby full time. I keep seeing roll through my YouTube that Gabby dies on her wedding days or something. Wedding day. Of course, she's no longer with Days of Our Lives. Her contract was up, and they wouldn't work with her to give her less hours. She's newly married in the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years. I think she wants to start a family. She wants a less busy schedule. So I heard she had signed up with another soap opera. I don't know if she did or not, but I wish they hadn't done that. So if they kill her off, I'm going to be super pissed. Because as long as they don't kill you off, you can always come back And this is Salem, so they can kill you 2 or 3 times and you come back. Okay, subscribe and like if you liked it, and subscribe if you want some updates. I hope everybody had a good and safe Memorial Day weekend. It is 90 degrees here where I'm at in the Ohio Valley. Pollen is high and the pollution is high. So if you're older like me and they have those weather alerts, make sure that you pay attention, because the older we get, the less we can handle that stuff. And please remember, everyone, if you're feeling depressed or like you don't want to be here anymore, please call some of the emergency numbers. You'd think I'd have that on hand if I'm going to mention it, but no, I don't. Not off the top of my head. But you can find them and get some help, because the world would not be a better place without you. And if you just hang in there, things will get better. They will. Okay, I love you guys, so like and subscribe, and I will see you in Salem. It is the place to be. Hey, did you all see? Oh, I hate to click on any of those stupid videos. You know, the other people that do these videos. Because so many of them get on my nerves. Have you seen that one? I swear, it's like it is a computer reading it. And I think it is, because I watched one the other day. And I've watched this one before because it aggravates me so. And I watched it. I clicked on it actually by accident. I thought I was clicking on the original Days page. And she's talking about Rafe, Collin, and Roth. And, you know, they can't pronounce the names. And then there's another one that says Days of Our Lives this date, full episode. And when you look at the time on the video, it's like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm like, you are lying to people to get them to click on your video. I don't make any money off this channel. I doubt my channel would ever be big enough for me to make any money. I do it because I love the show. I love the shows that I do reviews and stuff on, and it's just fun. And I'm just having a good time and sharing an interest with like-minded people. Okay, so I really am going to wrap it up this time, and I will see you all next week. And where am I going to see you? In Salem, of course.